Welcome to this tutorial on transitions in Scott Joplin's Bethena. If you have a passing acquaintance with the music of Scott Joplin, you probably think of him as the composer of ragtime, essentially march pieces like the classic Maple Leaf Rag. And so on. What you may not know is that he also wrote a variety of other kinds of pieces. Among the different kinds of pieces Joplin wrote were waltzes. And most of his waltzes, like his ragtime march tempo pieces, or two steps or whatever, most of his waltzes are very upbeat and very happy sounding. Well, one that he wrote very clearly is not. And it's a piece called Bethena, which, while melodic and charming, is different from his other waltzes in, well, all of his other compositions really, in two ways. First of all, it has a rather sad undertone. The second thing that distinguishes Bethena from his other compositions is that it makes use of some of the most atonal and most unusual transitions that he ever wrote. Let's go back to that first item that I mentioned, the circumstances under which Bethena was written. It was a work copyrighted in March of 1905, and that was only a few months after the death of Joplin's second wife, Freddie Alexander, whom he married in, I believe, July of 1904. She died just a few months later, in September of 1904, at 20 years old. So this was a really sad, really unexpected and tragic death. And it's believed by, among others, Edward Berlin, who wrote a book about Joplin called The King of Ragtime, that Bethena was probably published, or probably written rather, after her death. Joplin went into a bit of a tailspin after Freddie died, and didn't do much by way of composing or writing, but he did write this piece. And interestingly enough, although it's very lovely to listen to, as I say, it has an almost a subtle, let's put it that way, a subtle sadness to it. So much so, and this might be a little interesting to you, so much so that when I played this piece for my daughter and her family, my granddaughter, who is 10 years old, listened to just the first few minutes of the piece, and she said, "That's so sad." Now, she wasn't referring to my playing, at least I don't think she was. She was referring to the music, because it really is sort of a melancholy piece. And let me just play that first section to give you a sense of the tone, if you will, that's set by it. So that's how the piece starts, and it's got that sort of lilting, melancholy quality to it. Now, there are many videos on YouTube and elsewhere, recordings of Bethena that are played beautifully, and they're wonderful, wonderful videos. I'm not attempting even to make a conventional video for you. You can listen to that elsewhere. What I'd like to do, though, is to talk about what interests me about the piece, along with its being a very lovely piece and a fun piece to play. What intrigues me is the number of, as I mentioned earlier, odd and very atonal transitions that characterize the piece. Now, when I say transitions, what do I mean? Well, the piece actually has 5 different key signatures. It starts off in the key of G. That's the key I was just in. It then moves to the key of B flat, and the transition between the initial key of G and the key of B flat is a very interesting one. It then moves back to the key of G, then to the key of F, then to the key of either D or B minor. It's one sharp. It's actually B minor first and then D, but let's consider that one key change to the key of D, and then it resolves again in the key of G. So the piece moves along in tonally speaking from one key to another, and it's the transitions between those keys that I find most interesting. For example, let me illustrate what I mean. The opening section that I just played for you, as I mentioned, is in the key of G. Listen now to what, I'll shorten it a bit, but listen now to what he does to move from that key to the next key, which is the key of B flat. Let's listen to that last part again, and then I'll continue to show you what the transition is. Okay, now listen. Isn't it? Yeah, that last chord is an F7th. And the transition again is... Now, having played that F7th, he's introducing the key of B flat. F7th, B flat. It's a natural move from the dominant seventh to the tonic in the key, which is the key of B flat. Let me play on now. I'll lead into that again and play the second B flat section, and then show you how he gets back to the key of G. Well, when we get there. But listen to that interesting transition. He finishes up in B flat with that the hands moving in opposite directions. Then he uses this chromatic transition. He goes down every note of on the piano. Listen again. I'll do it one more time. Let's see. Up that G section, and then he wants to move to the key of F, and he does that in a very interesting way. Let me finish up that section again. This is the repeat of the opening theme in G, which he will use as a launching pad to move into the key of F, and I'll show you how he does it.